On today's video, we're going to be testing the accuracy of the all-new FlightScope Mevo Gen 2, and we're going to be doing it in a little bit of a different way here today. I am going to be warming up for my golf here today. I'll be hitting the clubs I would normally hit in a range session, and we are going to see if the Mevo Gen 2 can hold its own against a much more expensive unit in the GCQuad. The GCQuad is a pro-level unit. When this thing was first new, it was about $20,000. Now you can pick one up for about $15,000, but the reason you're paying that kind of price is because you expect pinpoint accuracy. So for me, it's really the gold standard. And we're going to pit it up against this Gen 2 Mevo from FlightScope, which is only $1,199. You're going to see every shot I take in real time here, more or less. There might be a couple of edits if I really stumble, but we're going to pretty much organically just do this video, have some fun. It's going to be a little bit more laid back and relaxed. We'll be talking a little bit. If you've got a beverage, like I've got my morning coffee here, open it up, get to work, and let's hopefully have some fun. So when I start a gapping session, or a range session for that matter, I really like to start out with like a 50-degree wedge, or one of my wedges down there in the lower part of the bag. So on the right-hand side of your screen, you're going to see the Mevo Gen 2. On the left-hand side of your screen, you're going to get a wider screen version here, what I'm seeing in my FSX 2020 from Foresight, which is kind of the standard default software that comes with the GCQuad. Interestingly enough, we'll see some differences in these softwares. We'll talk about it as we go, but both of them perform really well. I'd probably prefer the FS Golf app here, which is available for the iPhone or the PC. With the Mevo Gen 2, it's just a little bit more user-friendly, but you'll see the differences here as we go. So I am going to dive in here to full swing. We're going to get this session set up. And one thing that I want to note here is that both of these launch monitors are going to be set to sea level, all right, just to keep everything on the same page. One thing I want to make sure, though, is I'm choosing RCT balls. This Mevo Plus, it's very important to get the most accurate results that you're using either the dots that are provided from FlightScope on top of existing balls, or you use what I'm using here today, which is a Titleist RCT ball. We are going to now select our club, and I'm going to put that at gap wedge here. This is my 50-degree wedge. First swing here of the day. Let's see what we get. Oh, for the first swing, it wasn't horrible, although it was a little left of target, but good contact. We're seeing it left of target on both the Mevo Gen 2 here as well as the GCQuad, so that's a good thing. In terms of carry, wow, same carry, 113.2 to 113. Club speed, 74.2 to 75, so that's within less than a mile per hour there. Ball speed, within 2 miles per hour, 91.9 miles per hour on the Mevo Gen 2 to 90 miles per hour there with the GCQuad. Let's look at the launch angle, 25 to 25.9. The spin, 81.02 to 82.89. So we're within 200 RPM there. And in terms of smash, 1.24 to 121. So far, after the first shot at least, I think that's pretty good. We're talking about a big difference here in cost between these two devices. $15,000 is what this GCQuad goes for, and only $11.99 there for the Mevo 2.
Carry is 110.7 yards.
Caught it a little toe side there, but again, shot shape looks very similar. It finished just left of target there on the GCQuad and just slightly right of target there on the Mevo Gen 2, but all in all, real close. The carry number is 110 to 111. Well, 110.7, so that could easily be rounded to 111. 111, though, is what the GCQuad rounds to. Club head speed, 75 on the GCQuad to 72.4, so about 2.5 mile an hour difference there. Ball speed, 89.8 to 88. The launch angle, 26.6 to 26.3. The spin, 75.11 to 76.40, so it's a little closer there. Angle of attack is something I'm also interested in. I've got minus 1.2 degrees on the GCQuad and minus 1.9 degrees here on the Mevo Gen 2. So everything here so far looking real good. All right, shot 3. Again, real good strike there. Landed basically right dead on the line with the Mevo Gen 2 and just slightly left of the line there with the GCQuad. Now, some of this might just have to do with exactly how these two launch monitors are aligned. I am not a scientist in a lab room with a lab coat, so I've got it as close as I possibly can to being square to the target, but that little differentiation we're seeing could be due to that. Apart from that, the shot shape looks very similar. 115.7 carry with the Mevo Gen 2 to 116. So again, if you were to round it, you'd be the same, which is pretty incredible. Club head speed 76.1 to 77. That looks good. Ball speed 94.1 to 92. So ball speed looks just a little bit higher there again. Spin 8403 to 8504. So that's within 100 RPM. Our smash factor is a little higher here again on the Gen 2. 1.24 to 119. I'm going to take one more swing here before I switch over to the 8-iron, but I like what I'm seeing here, down low in the bag.
Carry is 116.5 yards.
Definitely felt like the middle of the club face to me. The GCQuad says it was. Again, both shots there with that little slight draw. Again, Mevo Gen 2 has it just slightly right of target, and the GCQuad has it just slightly left of target. So I'm pretty sure that has to do with setup. I may make a little bit of an adjustment here before I move on to the 8-iron, but I think that's why everything looks in line. It's just they're off by the same amount every time. Carry 116.5 to 117. That's really close. Club head speed 79.0 to 77. Ball speed 95.2 to 93. Spin 8313 to 8394. So that number keeps getting better and better. I like what I'm seeing here with the gap wedge for sure. It's time for me to switch over to the 8-iron. Now, before we move on to the next section here, I want to mention that our friends playbetter.com have the Mevo Gen 2 in stock. It's going to be the lowest price on the internet with free 48-hour shipping across the continental US, a hassle-free money-back guarantee, and on top of all that, you're helping Let's Play through and keeping our reviews honest and independent. I'll leave those links down below. All right, let's move on to the next section here. We're going to change to 8-iron here on the screen.
Ready.
You get a ready call out.
Ready.
On the Mevo Gen 2, which is really nice. Just to give you audible confirmation that it's ready to take a swing. Oh, I hit that thin. 143.2 makes sense to me. That's what the Mevo Gen 2 telling us. It does take a little extra time to register on the FSX 2020 software, but that's just the software itself. The launch monitor is getting the numbers nearly instantaneously, but the way it processes things. All right, we're getting an error here on our Mevo Gen 2, which is gonna make me actually restart the session. And that's the first time that has happened to me. What I'm gonna do is delete out the shot here in the GCQuad, and we're gonna start back up. But that's the first time I've seen it, again, hitting 500 plus shots here. All right, we're now reset here. And again, I've got 8-iron selected on our Mevo Gen 2. Let's do that again. Anything can happen early in the morning. All right, so both of those look very similar now in terms of shot shape again, which is great. All right, if we look at carry 149.3 to 146, club head speed closer there, 80.2 to 79. That's good to see. The ball speed 107.5 to 105. So about 2.5 mile per hour difference there in the Gen 2. Let's look at the spin there. Wow, again, very close. 5203 to 5240. Our smash number now very close, 134 to 133. And kind of as expected, as we're going to move up the bag, I think that smash number is going to be closer and closer as we go. Let me take a look at the angle of attack here again. I haven't looked at that in a bit, but it's minus 1.2 with the GCQuad and minus 1.6 there with the Mevo Gen 2. And again, I'll show you some more of these metrics on screen. I'm not going to call them all out, and it's just because this video would honestly last forever. But if there's something that you see that I'm missing, please let us all know down in the comments. There could be some wild differences that I don't catch in real time here, because like I said, I'm just kind of warming up and doing my thing, and I'm giving you the best I can give you. here to give you an idea of what these two launch monitors can do. All right, let's take another one here with the 8 iron. Oh, that's a good one there. Yeah, look how close to the center line that is on the GCQuad. What was it? Oh yeah, real close there on the Mevo 2. Look how close, they're both just slightly right, so that looks great. Carry 152.8 to 150, that's close. Club head speed 82.1 to 81, that's close. Ball speed 110 to 109, that's very close, 110.7 to be exact. Spin number is drifted a little bit there, 5684 to 5849. Just out of curiosity, let's look at the total distance. 154 to 160 on the GCQuad. So generally, we're going to get much higher calculated total distances, as I mentioned. Smash number, by the way, 135 on both of these units. I think I am about ready to move on to the 6 iron, actually, but I'm going to take one more here with the 8 iron for the sake of the video. Caught that one thinner. Shot shape looking very similar, but landing just left of target on the Mevo Gen 2 and just right of target on the GCQuad. 148.2 to 146. Carry 82.7 to 81. Mevo Gen 2 is a little higher there again. Ball speed the whole time has been around a mile per hour difference. That's interesting to see, and we'll continue to test that as we go here. But 108.3 to 107, that spin number within about 140-ish RPM, so that's pretty good. One thing I will check here is peak height, just something I want to look as we go, but 85.2 is what we got there on the Mevo Gen 2, and in order to see peak height, I don't have that as one of my metrics on the GCQuad, so let me actually check it here. 29. Now the GCQuad does it in, they do it in yards, which is something I'd love to change. If anyone knows how to do that and change that, let me know. But I believe my math is the worst subject in my repertoire, but 29, it should be 87.6, 86? Am I close? 86? 86? 87, something like that in terms of feet, and then what did we say the Mevo Gen 2 was? 85. So again, real close in terms of peak height. Everything looking very good here. I apologize for my poor math, but I think we're ready to move on now to 6 iron. 6 iron. All right, so I'll change that in the app as well. Oh yeah, we did that, okay. 6 iron in hand, here we go. See if we can keep up the good swings. Pretty good, but probably left. Yeah, we're seeing it a little left. Well, okay, not too bad, but just a little left there. And where it landed was about the same, right on the line on both of these. That shot shape looks really great. Now, let's take a look at the stats. Okay, 180.1 to 179 carry, club head speed 85.5 to 84, ball speed 121.7 to 120. Spin number, wow, again, we're within 8 RPM, 39.28 to 39.20. Fantastic. Fantastic in terms of the Mevo Gen 2, I think, right there. Oh, yeah. Gosh, middle of the club face feels good when you hit it, doesn't it? Now, according to Mevo Gen 2, I pushed it a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, I did push it on both. It's really nice. I think we just had that one reading where it was a little different in terms of center line, but it's been real close. All right, so getting back to carry number, 178.4 to 179. This one is really close because you're getting the tenths there on the Mevo Gen 2, and you're getting them rounded on the GCQuad here on the FSX software. 85 to 83, club head speed, ball speed 120.5 to 119, spin 39.21, again, really close. Likes this 6 iron, I guess, to 39.14. Let's look at that smash number again. We're getting tighter, 142 to 143. Let's take a look at a few more metrics here. There's some metrics, by the way, that the Mevo Gen 2 includes that I feel like they did it just so they could say they had 18 metrics. Flight time to me is just not something I would particularly care much about, but maybe it matters to people. There's also the spin, what do they call it? Spin loft is another metric that I'm sure fitters probably have more insight into why that's such an important metric to include in the Mevo Gen 2, but again, for me, not necessarily super important to me. Let's look at some of this launch data. Minus 3.6 angle of attack to minus 1.5. So the angle of attack number looks a little different here from unit to unit. But all in all, in terms of the main metrics, I think it's looking really good. But I mean, I should qualify that statement because angle of attack is very important to folks. I think what I have seen testing this device is that it's consistent. Like if your angle of attack is steeper, you're gonna see a steeper number. If it's shallower, you're gonna see a shallower number. Is it as accurate as this GCQuad? I don't think it's going to be, unless you get your setup absolutely perfect. And what I mean by that is you have to have the monitor at exact mat height, which mine is, but I actually do have a little bit of a trough in between the two, so that could play a tiny little bit of a role. Obviously, how straight that unit is and how straight your testing unit is, that's going to make a difference. There's a lot of different factors. So I do think we could get it potentially closer if I was a scientist. I'm sure if I was in a dust-free clean room with a lab coat, we could probably conduct some more scientific testing, but in some ways that's not real life either, right? So and that's the reason I mostly test golf clubs and balls and things out on course, because real life is where it's at. A robot can only tell you so much. A robot can't test a lie in the rough or a lie in the fairway, that sort of thing. All right, so let's go to shot 3. Enough John there. I'll get off my soapbox. Shot 3 here with the 6-iron. What I'm going to try to do is actually hit a fade, so you saw me adjust my stance there. Way I hit a fade is I open up everything, and I'm now trying to take more of an outside to in swing. On both units, we're getting a fade. It's more pronounced, it looks like, on the GCQuad. Carry 160 on the Mevo, 158 on the GCQuad. Club head speed 84.7 to 82, ball speed 109 to 110.9, spin 38.25 to 39.10. What is that? 85 RPM difference, so close. Still within 100. If you're within 100, that's real good. And we've seen it better, but we have seen it worse here today. I think all in all, if you were to average out all the shots I've taken, again, testing this unit, 90% of them are within 100 RPM, maybe 95%. Angle of attack, I'm interested in that number again here. So again, it's minus 4 to minus 2.2. Oh no, to minus 2.1. All right, so 2 degrees difference there in angle of attack. Something to note. And again, shot shape, we're seeing fade down there. And it did fade, of course, in the view there of the range. So all in all, I'd say I'm happy with what I'm seeing. I'm gonna move on now to a 4-iron, or else this video is gonna be really, really long. Plus I'm done with the 6-iron in my own warm-up here. Oh, we're getting looser. Now the 4-iron and the woods have been really my struggle lately, so I've been trying to make some adjustments to my swing, and I noticed I was really closing the club face with the GCQuad was telling me that. Again, having the stickers on here allows me to get that data. That's one thing that is missing from this Mevo Gen 2 that a lot of people want. I do think we will see it, honestly, because it's simply a software update away. Now, I think that software update, just like we saw with the Mevo Plus, is going to be paid. So if you want club face data, you're probably going to have to pay, I'd say, $500 one-time fee. The good thing, again, about FlightScope is their fees are one-time. It's not subscription yet. Please, FlightScope, don't make any subscriptions. We love that you're subscription free. I think that's a huge selling point to these devices. But I'm not getting club face data right now. So I wouldn't know that I was so shut. All right, and that's with my driver, I'm just coming in too far inside. I'm shutting the club face and I'm getting too many hooks. All right, and I'm seeing that with the 4-iron as well. So I'm trying to adjust my club path a little bit, which also has to do with my setup, and we'll see if it works today. But again, one thing you're not going to have with the Mevo Gen 2. I'll take that for the first shot with a 4-iron. 181 is the carry. I know there's more in the tank with this club. Let's see what we got. 185, got a little bit more there. So we're seeing a little bit bigger gap there at the 4-iron. And we're getting the radar model changed. I have noticed, and I think this is again a firmware update away, that if I walk around the radar, sometimes I get some mess ups. So we're gonna unfortunately have to start a new session, and hopefully you saw the data there on screen before I did it, but I'm just gonna move on to the next shot. I will also delete the shot out of our GCQuad here. Sorry this is happening, but you're experiencing it in real time like I am. And when technology is new, it's not always absolutely perfect. Generally, all of these companies, I'm talking Garmin, FlightScope, ShotScope, they're generally, when the stuff is first released, you're seeing a lot of software updates to fix the flaws that we're running into right now. But I want you to see it all, because I want you to see how I do the testing in here. And I think it's important that you do. So we'll hit start new session again.
Ready.
And I'm going to go back to 4-iron. Interestingly, I'm just looking, well, oh no, okay. I saw 158 up on the screen. That's because I deleted the shot out. But that's also interesting too. Now, something you're not going to get with the Mevo Gen 2 that you're going to get with the GCQuad is I just moved that ball and you saw it registered as a shot. So I've actually got to delete another shot out here because that wasn't a shot. And probably another reason why you might want to consider something like a Doppler unit, because that sort of thing doesn't happen. You only get reads when it reads an actual shot. It won't read practice swings or if you touch the ball like that. So we'll delete out that 0-yard shot because again, I just want to see this table hopefully side by side at some point. All right, 4-iron, back to the swinging. Oh, see, that's the struggle I've been having. Interestingly, when on really bad shots, you hopefully saw that on the Mevo Gen 2, it takes a little time to figure out what exactly happened, but it got it right there. That was a hook low and horrible. Now we're going to see probably a bigger gap here in the stats on bad shots as well. 153.6 to 148 carry. Club head speed 89.9 to 87. Ball speed 117 to 118, so that looks good. Again, ball speed numbers just look so close every time. And spin, actually, look at that, 1949 to 1943. Efficiency or smash factor 131 to 134. Very interesting. Let's see the angle of attack out of curiosity. 1.2 up to 0.8 up. So again, when it's up, it's up. When it's down, it's down. And when it's a bigger gap, you're seeing a bigger gap. But there is a difference between the way these two units measure that. All right, let's see if I can make a better swing. Yes, bigger and better, sure. Better, not great. Still thin. It's probably, if I was playing golf, that's in a bunker somewhere, most likely on my course. 184 is the carry number to 185, so that's close. 87 to 86 club head speed, ball speed 123.2 to 121. Good. In terms of spin, again, real close. 35.68 to 36.10. I gotta hit another shot here with this 4-iron. I needed, that first swing was so good and I haven't found it yet. Again. All right, better, but oh, okay. Well, maybe not so much better. I pushed it. Made good contact though. That was the center of the club face. So these are little adjustments I'm making in my own game, just trying to improve. And when I see a shot like that, I would take that over that smother hook, to be quite honest with you. Because the smother hook gets me into big trouble on my course, at least with the woods, whereas that, again, is probably going to be somewhere near the green, hopefully, as long as it doesn't hit the water that's on the right side of some of these holes. Depends on the hole. Got to play every hole for the hole. Anyway, we're here for the stats. 187.5 to 189, club head speed 88 to 87, ball speed 123.4 to 122. Again, really close. Spin number about 160 RPM, separating them. And a curiosity, let's look at total distance. Why not? Again, I don't put a lot of stock in it for a reason, but 193.6 to 206. So it'll be interesting when we see the driver too, what happens, but definitely the GCQuad really overestimates the rollout on their range, at least on this FSX20 software. I'll take one more just to see if I can dial that swing in. Then we're going to move on to the driver, which is a club that, honestly, a lot of Doppler devices struggle with. Okay, there we go. If I could just bottle that shot, that's what I want. All right, the carry there, 192.9 to 196, 87.5 to 87 in terms of club head speed, ball speed 127 to 125, 3183 to 3249 when it comes to spin. The smash factor the same, 145 to 145. Again, let's look at the total, 213 to 200 on the nose. All right, all in all, again, I think the Mevo Gen 2 punching way, way above its price point in terms of accuracy. But, like I said, this driver will tell us something as well. And it's a really important piece of the puzzle. I'm gonna just adjust my mat because my torque is kind of moving that mat a little bit. I've got two mats. I keep the GCQuad on one mat that stays still, and this one does move a little bit. I need to put some like double-sided tape down. All right, we're gonna switch over to driver. On the Mevo Gen 2, we've already got driver selected, which I've had selected this whole time, but again, doesn't matter for the numbers on the GCQuad, and it doesn't matter for the numbers on the Mevo Gen 2, just for organizational purposes. All right, here we go. Again, I'm working on my driver. This is something that I am trying a completely different setup for, so I gotta settle into it. Basically, I had a much wider stance. I also had more of a closed stance, so I am trying to open my stance, which will open my hips. I'm opening that front foot, again, to really get my hips through. My stance is a little narrower, and I'm taking more of an outside, at least feeling of an outside to in path. I'm sure it will be inside out when I come through, but it'll be less so, which should keep my face angle in a better spot. We'll see. We'll see what we get. Here we go, shot one. I hit the middle of the club face, which I love. And again, I actually love that that's heading right a little bit, because if you've been out on the golf course with me, to see it every shot lately just diving left, that is not what I want. So golf swing is always a work in progress. It looked very straight there on the GCQuad and maybe a slight draw, whereas we definitely got a fade. If you look at the shadow there, to me on the Mevo Gen 2, it looks like a slight fade, just judging by the shadow, although the arc itself looks straighter. 222 is the carry, and this is the biggest discrepancy we've seen so far. 222.4 to 237 on the GCQuad. All right, I'm trying to do the math in my head there. 15 yards different. Club head speed 94.1 to 97, ball speed 139 to 140.6. So that's again within that 1 RPM difference, or 1.6, I suppose. Let's look at that launch angle, because that matters a lot with the driver, 13.2 to 13.7, that's close. Spin number matters a lot with the driver to me, 2154 to 2135, so it did real well there. Now the angle of attack, minus 1.6 to plus 4.7, that's a big difference right there. All right, that's the first time I've seen that angle of attack number look really different. And shot shape is push. If you look at the GCQuad, it tells you where on the club face you hit it with these stickers again. And that was just right there, dead middle, but just a little higher than middle. So I give myself a 9 out of 10 for contact. Again, that's one thing that's going to be missing in the Mevo Gen 2 here out of the gates. Again, I think we're going to see like a pro package upgrade option, just like we did with the Mevo Plus. But right now, you're not going to have that data. But I can see and feel that was pretty middle of the club face. All right. I actually liked that swing, so let's see if I can repeat it, maybe just straighten it out slightly. That was low on the club face, but a better overall, I think, result. I mean, that's going to be down the middle of the fairway. Now, interestingly, we're seeing much more of a dramatic, it's a draw on both, but it's much more dramatic there on the Mevo Gen 2. Carry number is dramatically different, actually, 182.5 to 215. Now, what I will say is the other one had better peak height and should have gone longer. That is the case, but that's a big discrepancy in terms of carry. Club head speed is closer, though, 98.5 to 100. Ball speed 140.4 to 139. This is interesting. Spin number also very close, 2467 to 2419. I think we need to look at peak height here again. I think that's going to play a role. Height 31.5, which would only be like 10 yards, right? Let's see what GCQuad is telling me. I wish I had this up on my screen to make it easier for us, but bear with me. 17 is the yards there. So it's lower, and that's why we're getting considerably less distance on the Mevo Gen 2. I tend to think the GCQuad was more accurate there. I don't think 185 carry is really where my game is at ever, even on my worst swings. So interestingly, the smash 143 is better on the Mevo Gen 2 to 139. Let's take another couple because we're gonna have to really figure this one out. Interestingly, that ball speed is so close. Again, working on my new swing here. That was decent. Again, we're getting a big swing there with driver. 247 looks about right because that wasn't a fantastic shot, but it wasn't as bad as 195. I'm sorry, 247 being the total. Let's just see out of curiosity what the total was here. 216, so 247 to 216 total. I'd say closer to 247. It wasn't my best swing by any means, but it wasn't as bad as we're getting here with the Mevo. Ball speed numbers are within about 1.5 miles, which is interesting. Club head speed numbers within 3 miles an hour. Let's look at the spin again, close. What is that, 100-ish RPM, 95 or 105 rather. Different. 146, again, the smash is being read higher with the Mevo Gen 2, but again, shot shape, I think the GCQuad had it. I don't know if the Mevo did. You can let me know what you think down in the comments as well, but it's the first time we're seeing some real discrepancies. Now that one was toe side for sure. And it would have started right and drew back. That's what we're seeing here on the GCQuad. We're not getting that drawing back, and they're calling it a push fade on the Mevo Gen 2. Now, for the first time, 223 looks good in terms of carry, much better at least. 233, again, I'd say was probably more accurate. Club head speed, 95.7 to 98. Ball speed, 141 to 142.5. Spin, really close, 35 RPM difference. So shot shape is where the Mevo Gen 2 let me down there, I think, in my opinion. Again, I'd love to hear your opinion. You're seeing it as I'm seeing it. I'm doing a lot of talking, so I'm having another drink of my coffee here. What are you drinking? Again, let me know down below. I'd love to know. All right, so, well, that's my old stance. I got to get to my new stance here. And I got to get a little closer to the ball, too. Tell me how the swing looks. I can't see it right now. That one looked better. Okay, that's the first driver that I think really both launch monitors were much more similar in terms of shot shape. Looks good to me. A little more left of target landing on the Mevo Gen 2 than we see on the GCQuad, but let's look at that carry number again. It's about, what is that, 17-yard difference. Although the club speed's close, 96 to 97. The ball speed's close, 140 to 141.5. The launch angle is close, 14.1 to 13.4. The spin is different. 29, that's the biggest gap we've seen, 2979 to 1934. I want to take one more, and then I've got some ideas here. Let's see what we get here. And selfishly, I need one more swing before I call this warm-up session a day. Oh gosh, I'm not ending on that, so we're going to take one more. Both of those look nasty. Head and left. 206 to 227 carry, 97.9 to 99 club speed, ball speed close. Ball speed all day has been close. 147 or 144.7 to 143. Spin, bigger gap again, about 700 RPM. Let's look at the smash. 148 to 144. The smash consistently higher with the Mevo Gen 2. All right, could not end on that. I'm gonna hit one more. There we go. Okay, felt good anyway. Again, getting more draw than I would expect on the Mevo Gen 2. The carry is low, 211 to 234. The club head speed 94 to 96, that's closer. 139.5 to 138 ball speed. Spin, very close, 2335 to 2328. The GCQuad's telling me that the smash factor is 144 and 148 again, higher on the Mevo Gen 2. So, driver here is the one club where we're really seeing some variability, all right? And I have not just tested it here today. Like I said, I've tested this unit 4 or 5 times now, at least, and then the range session. So consistently, what I'm seeing, this is probably the furthest I've seen a disparity between driver numbers. Generally, there is a disparity, especially when it comes to carry, but all of the other numbers are real close, including peak height, descent angle, things like that. All look really close. But the carry numbers are widely different. You're seeing it here, just like I've seen it during my testing. The carry number specifically wildly different than the GCQuad is telling me. And what that means to me is that I think it's measuring it pretty good, but it's not translating that into real world carry numbers the same way. All right, again, you could make the argument maybe the Mevo Gen 2 is more accurate, although the pros use the GCQuad for a reason. So again, we're going to stick with that theory here for this video, that the GCQuad is the gold standard, that and the TrackMan. The TrackMan, though, is not a great indoor unit, being a Doppler-based unit. I actually think I'd prefer the Mevo Gen 2 since it's got the fusion technology, but I digress. I think the calculation or the algorithm being used to amalgamate that launch data and then translate that into a carry number is really skewing the numbers more when it comes to the driver. And really, as we worked up our way up the bag, even the 4-iron, I think there was a bigger carry difference there between the two. So something you've absolutely got to consider. It's measuring it correctly, so I think it could be easily adjusted. Just the calculation for the carry could be a software update. But let me know, again, what you think and what you've seen here down below. If I missed some egregious stats that really told a different story than what I feel like, I'm interested in that as well. I think it was exciting that we're seeing those spin numbers within 100 RPM, sometimes within 5, 6 RPM or less, many times. And I think on average, if we were to average everything out, about 100 RPM to maybe 200 max is usually where this, 98% of the time where this unit sits compared to the GCQuad. I think, again, club head numbers are about 2 mile per hour off, 3 sometimes, but ball speed numbers, generally about a mile per hour difference there. Smash, I think, was a little lower on the low clubs and a little higher on the driver. So again, these are calculations being made by the software. That's not a direct measurement, that's a calculation. So for the price that this sits, $1,199, I think you're getting a boatload of value, and I think you're getting a lot of accuracy. It's not 100% perfect. No device is. Again, the argument can be made that sometimes maybe it was somewhere between the two systems, but I think all in all, we're in a real good spot, and I think it could continue to get better here with the Mevo Gen 2. If I was shopping around the $1,000-ish budget, or even in the $500-600 budget, I'd be taking a very, very close look at the Mevo Gen 2. I think it offers the biggest and best suite of portability, indoor usage, and outdoor usage. The fact that we're getting this kind of accuracy from this price point, really, really nice to see. If I'm thinking about the Mevo Gen 2 as a replacement for a Bushnell Launch Pro or an iMini Lite, something like that, I still think you're gonna get better, more consistent accuracy out of those optical devices that sit next to you. But for a portable little Doppler device, that fusion technology that it's using, this thing is, I think, very, very good. I would almost say excellent, but I'd love to see that calculation change, especially in the driver when it comes to carry numbers. What do you think? Let me know down below. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you went all the way here to the end with me, thank you. I hope you enjoyed your beverage as much as I enjoyed my coffee. I am warm, and that means I'm actually gonna be heading to the golf course to record some more videos. So hit subscribe so you don't miss them. I'll catch you back here next time on another edition of Let's Play Through.